Recording.
Okay.
It's happening, yeah. Let's start.
Now, Professor Pankaj Jain and the organizers of this evening's
Sir,
talk.
once again, let's welcome you formally and then you start.
Okay, okay. We are already late, so I thought that I should start. But thank you. Okay, if you
All
want
right, I'll
to.
start. Professor B.M. Jain is an Indian political scientist and sinologist who has written or edited about a dozen books, and he has been a visiting professor at a number of universities across the world. And today he's joining us from Jaipur, and his detailed bio is linked with the talk on our YouTube page. And let's start now. So, Professor Jain, you can start now. Your talk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I'm thankful to you for inviting me for a talk on very important topic, as you know it very well. Let me give you a brief background of this today's title of my lecture. I was teaching a course at University, New York State University, Binghamton. One of the courses was India and China. So my student, in fact, they prompted me that you are, Professor Jain, you are talking about India as an emerging global power. At the time, that was the year 2006, 2007. So they prompted me, they prodded me, they really encouraged me, and its result was Global Power India's Foreign Policy, which was published by Lexington Books, Lanham MD, 2008. Then I taught a course at the Jaume University, Jaume, actually Jaume, it is pronounced as Jaume, Jaume, that is in Spain. I taught a course on regional conflicts in Asia. And again, students prompted me, and my another publication that was India in the New South Asia, India in the New South Asia. So this is how I developed it. And in the year 2013, I taught a course at Cleveland State University, Ohio, and there I introduced the concept of geopsychology. I was teaching a course on international relations. That's very important. American students, you know, they were all the time talking about the U.S. hegemonism. And yes, I have read the book by Professor Jain. He's a very famous professor at Princeton University, and hegemonism and all that. So the world now has changed a lot. Now there has been transition from geopolitics to geoeconomics, and from geoeconomics to geopsychology. This is what I called, this sort of transition in international relations that we see today. And within this international system, India's foreign policy operates. That's important because now uh, there is a debate, ongoing debate in the US and including in many universities in Germany. They also invited me for lectures, so I do remember. So they are also conscious about the fact that that this anarchical world order, it's not a peaceful world order, but it's anarchical world order, isn't it? Because the debate veers around multipolarity, unipolarity. So there is no unipolarity now. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in December 1991, so there was a momentum or a moment for unilateralism. That is, United States is the only sole power in the world. And thereafter, what happened in 2001? At the time, I was in the USA, and this event unfortunately happened. 9/11 happened. And after 9/11, uh, now America realized that it alone cannot, dominate the world, isn't it? So after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and who was the main beneficiary? The main beneficiary was China. Main beneficiary is China, as a matter of fact. Now, the question arises that what kind of foreign policy we have in India today? What kind of foreign policy? Does India support unilateralism or multilateralism? Yes, India supports multilateralism. India supports multipolarity, not unipolarity. But there are certain contradictions that you will find in India's foreign policy that I would come to that part because now India is talking about the balanced multipolarity. Now, what is that balanced multipolarity? It means that India has doubt that in Asia there are two competitors. Recently I contributed 4 articles, and one of the articles that is on the great power competition in South Asia or in Asia, I should say, not only in South Asia, but great power competition. Now, this concept is getting a lot of attention throughout the world. Great power competition where in Asia, great power competition in Indo-Pacific. So India looms large. India looms large when we talk about Asia Pacific. Now it is called Indo-Pacific. Now this is very important because India has joined Quad. Quite quadrilateral security architecture. The security system India has joined. Now, people in India and intellectuals and academics in India, they are raising very important question. And that question is, can India maintain its strategic autonomy? Now, this we need to underline. Strategic autonomy that we have been talking about since the Nehru era, when India adopted the policy on non-alignment. Now, policy of non-alignment means the freedom of action. Policy of non-alignment means strategic independence. Policy of non-alignment is strategic autonomy. But it is misnomer today. I hold this view, and I maintain in several of my books that it is a misnomer to say that India can enjoy strategic autonomy. Right? Two types of contradictions. Now, two types of contradiction are there because a report had appeared, and in that report, India's academics had contributed non-alignment to. Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we
Hello.
can
Yes,
hear
yes, we
you.
are listening. Yes.
Okay, okay. So non-alignment two, in that document, again the emphasis was on strategic autonomy. My friends, I would like to make it very clear that strategic autonomy might have been possible during the Cold War era because India did not join either the Soviet Union's bloc or the US bloc of Cito Cento. Okay, I can agree. But so far as now the world is, because the subtitle of my talk is that is complex interdependent world order. Complex international interdependent. Now today we are living in an interdependent world order where all small countries, middle ranked countries are equally important in order to maintain peace, security, and development. And from that angle, if you see, so India's strategic autonomy is not possible. It is not feasible, as a matter of fact. And that is why the United States has collected, all major medium powers to to contain China's expanding strategic foothold in the Indo-Pacific. Now, this is a fact. Why Quad? Is there are 4 countries. There are 4 countries in Quad. That is India, Japan, Australia, and the United States. So this is a kind of security arrangement. The idea behind Quad is to keep Indo-Pacific region free and open. This is an idea. Now, because of China's expanding strategic foothold in the region, that is Indo-Pacific. Earlier it was Asia-Pacific. Now the name has been given because in the document 2013 of Australia, isn't it? That is a white paper on defense. they used this term for the first time, that is Indo-Pacific. And in 2017, the former president, the first administration of Trump, uh, named as, Indo-Pacific for free and open. The idea was to maintain this region free and open. Now, India has joined Quad. Okay. So, what is India's stature has definitely increased, no doubt about it, because India is now the member of Quad. These are four countries. Then India has also the important role to play in BRICS. Now, BRICS is very important forum where India can play a meaningful role. Okay. And at the recent summit in Kazan, Russia, in October 2024, Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping met at the BRICS summit. So that provided an opportunity, I tell you, that provided an opportunity. And they discussed, Mr. Modi and Xi discussed, standoff on Sino-Indian borders, and that really resulted in dialogue on Indo-Chinese borders, and its result was positive disengagement, of Indian and the Chinese troops. Then India and the SCO, India and Shanghai Cooperation Organization, India became the full member in 2017. Now, Shanghai Cooperation Organization is the brainchild of China. And China is more influential in uh, impacting the agenda of SCO. The idea behind SCO was to maintain regional peace, security, and stability in the region, isn't it? Now, what is happening there? That Central Asian republics are important for India. Therefore, India's role is important. How to cultivate friendship, how to cultivate, relations with the Central Asian republics, isn't it, for India's tourism, India's business, trade, and everything. So from that angle, India's place in SU is equally important. Then we come to India's role in G20. I must underline this fact that in G20, its summit was held in New Delhi in 2023. Now, India played really very important role, and at India's insistence, African Union was admitted as a member of G20. African Union, please do underline. So it also, increased India's diplomatic stature in global politics, that India can play an effective role in influencing the currents and the cross currents of the world politics. Okay. And so we must acknowledge India's role in G20. Now let me come to some problematic areas. It is good, India's role in Quad, India's role in BRICS, India's role in SEO, India's role in East Asia Summit, and India's, after all, the increasing trade participation, economic participation, isn't it, in the Middle East, in the Gulf countries, and all that, that has definitely, heightened India's global stature, no doubt about it. Now, the major problem is India-China rivalry. That we need to underline, that India-China rivalry, the major concern of India with China is the resolution of the border issue. As you know it well, that the main cause of the border dispute is McMahon Line, which was demarcated in 1914 at the Shimla Convention. So the problem is that China does not accept McMahon line as an international line. And because China has been saying that, okay, we don't accept this line because this line was demarcated under the influence and under the power and authority of Great Britain, isn't it? That is imperialist power, and therefore we don't accept it. Now, so many meetings have been held on the border issue, and especially a positive change came about when Rajiv Gandhi visited China in December 1988, and at that time there was an agreement, and that agreement is known as Joint Working Group to maintain peace and tranquility on the borders. That was the first agreement. That was the first agreement on the border issue in 1988 when Rajiv Gandhi visited China, say after a gap of 34 years. Isn't it? Jawaharlal Nehru visited China in 1954 and Rajiv Gandhi went to China in 1988. So that was a positive. Now, after Rajiv Gandhi visit to China, what happened? Because he, in fact, facilitated higher level, the highest level meeting between India and China. Isn't it? So the leaders, they exchange visits. He, so what happened from 1988 to, briefly, because I can't give you all the details because of the positive time, because we are already late. So from 1988 to 2013, that was, I should say, the golden period in Sino-Indian relations, except some skirmishes on the borders here and there. Otherwise, there was, taken the trade, bilateral trade also, and they had kept the target that India and China would reach the target, that is $60 billion by the year 2010. As a matter of fact, by the year 2010, they crossed the target. It was the bilateral trade amounted to $61.7 billion. Okay. But what happened after 2013, that is in 14 to, that is during the past 10 years, there have been many border tensions, and border tension erupted for two reasons. I perceive so based on the empirical study that India joined United States, isn't it? Because the strategic partnership, we have a strategic partnership with the United States. Then India's naval exercises with Australia, with Japan. Now these naval exercises also, irritated China and Xi Jinping. It was just an accident or a chance that Xi Jinping came to power in 2012 as General Secretary and as President in 2013, and Modi came to power in 2014. So these two leaders, they could not pull them together, on global and regional issues. So because of India's geopolitical and geostrategic proximity with the United States and its allies. So China thought, Xi Jinping thought that India is going closer to the United States, and Quad is also an example, isn't it? So this was one of the factors. Now, Beijing desires to be a leader of those countries which oppose the US hegemony. Now, this is the problem. Beijing wants to reorder the world. There is a book, China Orders the World. There is a book that is very interesting. And David Shambu also wrote a book on China that is also very interesting. So many books have come in the market on China's global, not only global power status, but China is emerging as a superpower and wants to replace United States. So Xi Jinping has made it very clear And here my concept of geopsychology becomes relevant because geopsychology takes history, nationalism, culture, and ethnicity into account. So we need to understand. So if you want, you can uh, find my book, on Google, the Geopsychology Theory of International Relations in the 21st Century. This is the first book which provides an alternative to geopolitics and alternative to geoeconomics, that they are important, no doubt. I don't dispute the importance of geopolitics and geoeconomics. But what is important now, we need to understand the role of non state actors because in the international system, right from Hans J. Morgenthau's classic book, that is uh, on power politics, that book is a fundamental book, generally cited, and after that, Kenneth Wald's structural realism. Structural realism is what is, you know, uh, that is the status of a country is measured by what kind of military power you have, economic power you have, all that. So state is important, not individual. But in my book, Psychology Theory of International Relations, I maintain that non-state actors after 2001, 9/11, they have become relevant and they have become very important, and they were recognized. Interestingly, President Trump, in his first administration, he had concluded talks with Taliban leaders at the time because in order to withdraw US forces from Afghanistan is very important. Now, he held official dialogue not with the government of Afghanistan, not with the president of Afghanistan, but with the Taliban. He knew it, isn't it? So I have maintained in my book that Trump was a great geopsychologist. He went to see North Korean President Mr. Un in order to avoid nuclear crisis or nuclear catastrophe. So that's very important. And from that angle, Chinese geopsychology is that whatever we had lost in the past, we must regain. And Xi Jinping has been reminding about the greatness of Chinese civilizational values and all that. And he is keeping, the Chinese history and Chinese nationalism, isn't it, as a hot topic for discussions, isn't it, in the country, that China was treated very badly, by the Western powers, by Japan and all that. So they are keeping, their history, they are keeping their past history alive, isn't it? And that is why, you know, Xi Jinping has maintained it very clearly that China must now show up its power. China must demonstrate its power. Uh, Deng Xiaoping, who was the architect of economic reforms in 1978, and India had introduced economic reforms in 1991. Unfortunately, and Manmohan Singh, who was the architect of economic reforms in 1991, he is no more, and we pay our tribute to him. But what is important is that China introduced economic reforms 1978, and India was totally unaware of what is happening in our neighborhood. But anyway, so economic liberalization, isn't it, has already been introduced, and second economic reforms, I do not know, third economic reforms we need. Now, FDI, it's a very positive sign that FDI inflow into India cross 1 trillion dollar. This figure I am giving first week of December 2024, and key sectors of FDI include computer, software, telecommunication, and trading, construction development, automobiles, chemicals, pharmaceuticals. So this is a positive sign that India's economic liberalization, and we are inviting, foreign direct investment. So India's now India's quest for self-reliance. This is also very important. Now, India has recognized that it is important to become an economic power as China uh, resulted because of its constant efforts uh, as an economic powerhouse. So now India's quest for self-reliance. For this, India has projected to invest $30 billion in its technology sector for semiconductor supplies and reduce dependence on foreign countries. This is a good step, good initiative taken by the government uh, for self-reliance. Then India, but at the same time, India has been acquiring weapons, and especially from Russia. So over the past 30 years, India has acquired $30 billion of weapons from Russia. Russia. Okay. So we are spending more on military modernization, modern weapons. Now, so far as China's foreign exchange reserves, isn't it? When we compare, the economic parameters or economic power of India and China, then we need to understand that China tops in foreign exchange reserves, which is dollar 3.266 trillion, 3.266 trillion in November 2024. Okay, whereas India's foreign exchange reserves stood at uh, $652.9 billion. You can just compare. So India has got, uh, some problems with our foreign exchange. Of course, foreign exchange reserves has definitely increased because in 1991, India's foreign exchange reserve was only 1 billion. So now it has reached over 6 billion, 2.9 billion dollar, isn't it? That is. Now, what are the challenges? Because I need to know the how much time I have to speak on. Or should I continue for 10 minutes? Hello?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can continue. Yeah.
Okay. So that we can have more discussion. Now,
Yeah,
what
5 minutes.
are
You can wrap
what
up.
are challenges before India? The strategic challenges, security challenges before India. Let me outline. Number one, India's security and strategic challenge emanate from diverse sources. Number one, India needs to redefine its neighborhood policy. Why redefining India's neighborhood policy? Because Modi, when came to power in 2014, uh, he mentioned that my priority would be first neighborhood. Okay, so first neighborhood policy is of course there, but if you look at the data, that you will find that Nepal, including Bhutan, also now is developing strategic ties, directly strategic relationship with China, isn't it? After 2017 Treaty of Friendship, this was revised in 2007. So Bhutan is also enjoying an agency that is enjoying sovereignty and autonomy to some extent. But Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh and Mauritius, isn't it? They are under the spell bound of Chinese strategic influence. They are under the Chinese strategic influence. So India needs to revise and redefine its policy how to win our neighbors. We know it very well that Pakistan has very close strategic nexus with China. That we know it very well. Since 1963, China and United States, they had entered into strategic relationship. I should say strategic a kind of a treaty, isn't it, that was aimed at India. Okay. But now we need to, for instance, Oli's recent visit to China, where he has agreed to join Belt and Road Initiative. Now, this is $1 trillion project, BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. Though India didn't want that Nepal should join BRI. Okay, but despite that, Nepal has joined BRI. Why BRI? Because China's BRI that starts, from Pak occupied Kashmir, isn't it? That starts from this project. Starts from Pak occupied Kashmir. So India has contested it, but Nepal has joined it. Then they have signed so many agreements also. So India is definitely concerned about all these things. Secondly, what India should do, so far as Sri Lanka is concerned, because now the recent election, there has been change in the change of political guards. India can better grab the opportunity, isn't it, with a new president. Now, for that, we need an innovative and creative diplomacy, because I have just argued in my articles and my books and also in my lectures that India does not have concept to deal with. This is very important, because during the Cold War we had a concept, that is non-alignment, isn't it? So non-alignment was the bedrock of India's foreign policy. That okay, we will take independent decision, isn't it? Whether America or whether the Soviet Union and all that. So that was our approach to foreign policy. But now in multipolarity and multilateralism, these are the two important concept, multilateralism. So India has joined, multipolarity. India has joined multilateralism, and then of course, in this complex interdependent world order, India has not been able to redefine its strategic diplomacy. Now I'm putting more emphasis on strategic diplomacy. We have diplomacy, but we lack strategic diplomacy, how to deal with, isn't it, with great powers, isn't it? Now, great power competition, of course, uh, is increasing, day by day, and India is unable to understand the current and cross currents of the new forces which are impacting on India's foreign policy and especially economic diplomacy. So I'm talking about in the final my analysis that what is the importance of economic diplomacy and strategic diplomacy. Economic diplomacy means you should not only be the partner. You should not only be the partner. We are partner, for instance, in Quad security partnership is there, but economic partnership, of course, where multilateralism comes into force, no doubt about it. But India will have to develop a new concept or a new vision how to maintain a strategic posture when we deal with great power competition. When we deal with great power competition, that is important. Now, for that, I would argue that India needs to evolve a new strategic philosophy, a new strategic doctrine. I'm not talking about nuclear doctrine, but strategic doctrine, where India can do business, where India can influence the decision making in international system. That is important. What China is doing, China does not accept US hegemonism. It has given challenge to United States that is not going to accept the US based international order. China is not going to accept. China says that new international order should be based on fair, just international order based on Chinese characteristics. Now, based on Chinese characteristics. So China does not accept the Western model of international order or the so-called neoliberalism. It does not accept. So Professor Keohane and Joseph Nye, isn't it? They talked about soft power and all that. QN, and they have also accepted that now hegemonism is not acceptable by any country, isn't it? So US is on the declining side, and that is why United States is trying to collect, all the powers against, whether it is NATO, whether it is Europe, whether it is Asian powers like India or Singapore or Malaysia and all that. So because United States feels threat, from China. India, the United States does not have any sort of the threat from India, isn't it? So that is why they have included India as a major power, as a counterweight to China in the Indo-Pacific region, and especially India's interest in the Indian Ocean, because the Indian Ocean is China's influence is expanding, where in Sri Lanka and Maldives, these are the two Indian Ocean states, isn't it? So, so India needs to understand that its stature is not merely that it has joined, SCO, or it has joined, the BRICS, or it has joined Quad and all that, but India must have its own voice. This is what I should say, and that is why India needs to evolve a new strategic diplomacy. Needs to Now, adversarial neighbors, India, as I already told you, that India-China rivalry would remain. Adversarial neighbors like Pakistan, uh, or I should also include Bangladesh, how religion is becoming important. This is what I'm now calling ethnicity and religion. India also needs to uh, deal with these two factors, ethnicity and religion, that you see in Bangladesh. You know what is happening with Hindus in Bangladesh. You know it very well, so I need not elaborate it. So India has definitely been cultivating relationship with other countries, also Gulf countries. But Bangladesh, has especially caused great concern to India, and India needs to revise its policy towards Bangladesh. So, friends, if you have got, I must now conclude, and if you have got any question or concerns, then you are most welcome. I can take up your questions, and if you have got any comments, because this is a very vast area, is just like an Indian, just not Indian Ocean, but so if you got a particular question, and I would like to again maintain two, three things very clearly, that strategic diplomacy. I'm now working on two more projects. Uh, uh, One of the projects Indo-Pacific with my Canadian colleagues, isn't it? And secondly, I'm working on adversarial rivalry with China. And this I've been just toying with the idea of strategic diplomacy. So that sort of, because we generally talk about innovation, we talk about creativity and all that, but according to the circumstances, because the international system now has become so indistinct that we can't define it, that here is the international system, you should operate like this. That is that is why I have maintained in my lecture that India, of course, is a very important global player, no doubt about it. But now India's participation in the decision making is important, isn't it? Because China takes all the decision on its own. You can just think of it, that how China can have a very sound sleep, isn't it? Because China is just witnessing all the enemies, that is from the north and south and east and west. But at the same time, China has, its strategic boldness, what I call the strategic boldness and strategic innovation, and especially in innovation in the field of science and technology, isn't it? Because it is far ahead in artificial intelligence. Because I can't give you all the facts and figures, but America knows it very well that we can't defeat, China on several grounds. And if President Trump is going to penalize it, isn't it, China, and okay, that we will definitely increase tariffs on China or in Canada or in Mexico. Nobody can say what will happen to United States, but China is consistently maintaining. Two important things about China is that unlike Soviet Union, unlike Soviet Union, China is not wasting its military strength, military power everywhere, isn't it? So it has not fought even a war after 1962 with China, sorry, with India, isn't it? Because in 2000, there was the possibility of a war, a direct war between India and China. But Xi Jinping is avoiding it. He knows it very well because once you enter into war, whether it be Taiwan also, there were a lot of trouble. And I maintained it that Taiwan is going to be litmus test for the United States. This is very important because how long will United States help Taiwan? Because under the 1971
Uh,
Shanghai.
Professor Jain, sorry to interrupt you. If you could conclude in a while,
Okay,
because
okay. Now concluding, it's a concluding part, but I'm just
okay,
raising, these peripheral issues on which we generally don't discuss, because Taiwan has also the impact on India's foreign policy, isn't it, what is happening? It Xi Jinping's approach to global order. It does not accept the international order based on that is rule based order. It does not accept. So it has got the implications for India. So it's a very vast topic. So anyway, please now let me conclude and thank you again for giving me your ear and for hearing me. Uh, with all patience, I do not know how many participants are there. I can see Professor Jain, Pankaj Jain with the smiling face, you with the smiling face. That's nice. That's good. Thank you so
There is
much.
one more. Thank you. There is only one. Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah. Thank you, Professor Jain. If we have any questions, we have one audience member, but if we have any questions,
You,
okay.
Yes.
So
I want a discussion only for 30 minutes and I wanted to have more questions, Susan.
right. Also, I think because of the timing, I mean, it's in the evening, so and keeping it after Christmas means there'll be
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but hopefully because this is recorded and it will be uploaded on our website, many more people will be able to join in and probably leave their comments. I have a question. So my work is primarily on media and culture. So, since you spoke about soft power, we already know how Hollywood have exercised their soft power previously. Even Korea is doing it now. How or what would, according to what is the state of Indian films vis-a-vis the soft power?
Okay, I would definitely first of all refer to my book, recent book on China's soft power diplomacy. This is also published by Lexington Books, isn't it? And second one I discussed in Indo-US relations in the age of uncertainty by Rutledge, 2016 and 200 paperback edition, in which I have said, well, soft power. Now, soft power is a diffused concept, first of all, isn't it? Not a distinct concept. People say that India can use yoga, isn't it, as a soft power? India's culture, soft power. India's mannerism, soft power. Gani Khamasa, soft power. Gani Khamasa in Rajasthan and all that, people call it. Now, uh, because my discussions with American political scientists, at Harvard, Yale, and also Cornell University, has convinced me that soft power does not work beyond certain level, isn't it? Beyond certain level. If you don't have hard power, you cannot use your soft power decisively, isn't it? So first of all, you need hard power. Okay. And then you can, of course, use your soft power. Isn't it? This is what China is doing. This I have maintained in my book, China's soft power diplomacy at three levels. I would tell you very briefly at three levels. First, China's Soft power diplomacy is based on the fact that if I am dealing with superpower like United States, you know, the level of interaction, okay, uh, okay, I will not accept US hegemonism. When it deals with the middle rank power, okay, fine, okay, nice. When it deals with small powers like Bhutan, okay, oh, don't worry. He will be visiting, he will be visiting which Maldives, a very small country, isn't it? I think less than 5 lakh people population, isn't it? But he's giving so much importance to Nepal, to Maldives, isn't it? Bhutan. Okay. Now that we need to understand. And these powers, they really understand that India is really a regional hegemon. And in my book, Geopsychology Theory, please, I can send you my chapter 2 on South Asian geopsychology, and there is a case study in Nepal. Nepal always believes that India does not use soft power. India always uses hard power, isn't it? It tries to pressurize them. It doesn't accept, as a power, and they have their perception. And Nepal's former foreign minister, he is no more there, Mr. Rana. He was interviewed, and he used my concept, the geopsychology, that yes, India's geopsychology is that of predominance. India's geopsychology is that of regional hegemonism. So India is also termed as a regional hegemon. So India is not using soft power. Even with the country like Nepal, where we have commonality in terms of culture, in terms of religion, isn't it? And this is unfortunately, that is why, they are distancing away from India, our smaller country. And China has been able to cultivate, it, where India could not go to Southeast Asia or the Northeast Asia, isn't it? Where China has established its study foothold very strongly, where because of its soft power approach, though it may not be, but it deals, as I told you, at different levels. At the superpower level, okay, don't worry. Oh no, I'm not going to meet, President Biden. So Biden invited him. Please, I want to meet you. Okay, can you dictate such short terms? Middle rank power like Japan or India or something of the sort. Okay, okay, fine. You are doing good. You are doing good because but I don't consider you as a rival. China does not consider India as a rival. Okay, he's not my rival. He's not my competitor, isn't it? My competitor is the United States. My competitor is Japan. My competitor is somebody else, but not India. He doesn't accept. So India has got soft power, but at the same time, since India does not have that sort of the hard power while compared to China, isn't it? So you can't. Acha country. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Pankaj, and if you have.
No, I don't have any question. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your talk. And we'll be in touch and we'll upload your webinar on our channels and hope to be in touch with you. Thank you.
Can you make the recording available to me?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Professor Pankaj. Thank you so
Thank
much for your time. You got very odd time for your dinner and all that. I can understand, and I
No
don't know
problem.
whether you take before sunset.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not in India, but thank you again, and we'll be in touch.
oh, yeah, not yeah. Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you again.
Bye for now.
Yes.